Brachos Daf Chavtes teaches us about a number of tefillos and what their text is and what happens if one forgets to say it correctly. So the Gemara begins by discussing the tefillah of V'la Malshinim, the bracha added into Shemona Esrei against the Tzedukim. The Gemara relates that for a while, then the Gemara discusses why different Shemona Esreis have different numbers. Then the Gemara discusses what happens if somebody forgets to say Havdalah, not Techainin, or somebody forgets to mention rain in V'sein Talumatul Levracha, if somebody forgets to say Yalav Yavai. The Gemara then discusses the rule we had learned earlier, if somebody says Tfilas Kva, it's no good. What does Kva mean? The Gemara wants to know what does Parasha Sayover mean, which we saw in the Mishnah. The Gemara discusses the proper text of a shortened Shemona Esrei in a situation which is sakana, is danger, and then the Gemara will bring us into the concept of Tfilas Haderech. So let's see the Gemara. The Gemara relates how the 19th bracha was added to Shemona Esrei, the bracha of V'la Malshinim, which is against the Apikarsim, the heretics, Tzedukim. The Gemara says that Shimon, the cotton merchant, laid out the brachas of Shemona Esrei before Rabbi Gamliel in Yavne. And Rabbi Gamliel said, okay, so who's now going to write the 19th bracha against the Tzedukim? So Shmuel HaKatan said, I'm going to do it. He wrote out the bracha, and he did not get a chance to be the chazan until a year later. And the tradition then was that only the chazan said out the bracha. So when he stood up to be the chazan a year afterwards and he tried to say over the bracha, it wasn't written anywhere, and he couldn't remember the text of the bracha that he had written himself. So the Gemara says he stood there at the Amid trying to remember the words of his own bracha for hours. The Gemara says that they didn't remove him. So the Gemara asks why. We've seen that the halach is that if somebody makes a mistake in Shemona Esrei, for all the brachas you leave him, but if he messes up in V'la Malshinim, then you take him down because we're afraid that the reason why he's not saying the bracha is because he's a tzeduki himself. So how come they didn't remove Shmuel HaKatan? So Gemara says first, well, maybe they didn't remove him because he was the one who wrote the bracha himself, so obviously he's not a tzeduki. So Gemara says, but how do you know? Maybe he became a tzeduki after. So Gemara says there's no such thing. Somebody's a tzaddik, he stays a tzaddik. Doesn't become a rasha afterwards. Gemara says, really? Is that so? But the pasuk says explicitly, "B'shuv tzaddik mitzid kasei v'asa avel." A tzaddik could go off and do terrible things. So Gemara says that's only a tzaddik who was originally a rasha, then became a tzaddik. He could go back to being a rasha, but a tzaddik from the beginning will never become a rasha. Gemara says that's not true either. It says al tamen ba'azmecha ad yoyim et ma'ischa. You should never trust yourself because you see that Yochanan Kohen Gadol was Kohen Gadol for 80 years, and he went into the Kodesh HaKodashim for 80 years, and in the end he became a tzeduki. So the Gemara has a machlokes here, Abaye and Rava. Who is this Yochanan? Abaye says this is really Yanai. He was originally Yanai, and he was a rasha, and then he became a tzaddik. So then it's not difficult to understand that he went back to being a rasha again, but we could still maintain that somebody who was a tzaddik in the first place would never become a rasha, and therefore Shmuel HaKatan, who started out as a tzaddik, we don't have to be concerned that he became a rasha. But Rava says, no, Yanai was Yanai, Yechanan was Yechanan, he was a tzaddik all his life until the end. So according to Rava, how do you understand why Shmuel HaKatan wasn't removed from the Amud? We should be concerned, maybe he became a tzeduki at the end, even though he started off as a tzaddik. So the Gemara says, well, what happened over there must have been that he started the bracha and he got confused in the middle. Then you don't have to be afraid that he's a tzeduki. The Gemara now moves on to discuss the other Shemona Esreis which we have at special times of the year and where they got their number of brachos from. So the Gemara asks, the Shabbos Shemona Esrei contains 7 brachos. Why 7? So the Gemara says, just like the 18 come from Mizmar LeDavid, where it says Hashem's name 18 times, the 7 of Shabbos come from there, where it says the word Koil 7 times. The Gemara says, what about the 9 of Rosh Hashanah Musaf? So Rabbi Yitzchak the Min Kartignin says that's for the 9 times that Chana mentioned Hashem's name in her tefillah, because Chana, Rachel, and Sarah were remembered to have a child on Rosh Hashanah. Then the Gemara says, what about on a fast day? On a fast day, the Gemara in the Tainus says we add 6 brachas to Shemona Esrei, and it's 24 long. The Gemara says, where did those 24 come from? The Gemara says, well, Shlomo HaMelech, when he brought the Aron into the Beis HaMikdash, as he was mechanech it, as he began it, so he said 24 tefillos. So the Gemara says, well, if that's true, then let's say 24 every day. The Gemara said, no, Shlomo said it on a special day of Rachmanos, the day where he had to ask for Rachmanos because the gates of the Beis HaMikdash were sealed, and he had to call upon special zuchusim. So we also say it on a fast day where we're also looking to call out special zuchusim. The Gemara now refers back to the Mishnah where we had the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua, who said that a person should say a shortened version of the Shemona Esrei Brachos, the 18. So the Gemara says, what is this shortened version? So the Gemara says, Rav says he should say a little bit of each bracha. He should say the first line of the bracha, which encapsulates the meaning. Then he should say the Baruch Atah Hashem at the end. Shmuel says no, he should say one bracha, which includes all 18 brachos in it. It has a reference to the subject of each of the 18. The Gemara is saying that this would be included in Shema Koleinu. We would have the first 3 brachos of Shemona Esrei. We would have one Shema Koleinu, which includes all the other middle brachos, and then we would have the last 3. So the Gemara says, how would this bracha sound? So it would read as follows, and each phrase would refer to another one of the 18. Havineinu Hashem Elokeinu Ladas Durachecha. That's Atachainin. Umalos Levaveinu Lirasecha. That's Tivenu. V'sislach lanu liyos geulim. That's Slachna. V'rachaknu mi'machevenu. V'deshanenu bin ne'es artzecha. V'vutzesenu mi'arba tikabetz. V'atoyim adaydcha yishbetu. V'al tanaf yedacha. That's V'lamashinim there, the last one. V'yismechu tzadikim b'vina nirecha. Uv'tikarecha lecha. Uv'tzmichas keren l'davar avdecha. Uv'arichas ner l'ven yishayim shichecha. Terem nikra atah ta'aneh baruch atah Hashem shemei atfilah. Now the Gemara says Abai did not approve of this shortened version, and he would scold severely somebody who used to say this shortened Havineinu. Rav Nachman, this is the name of Shmuel, that on Motzei Shabbos you shouldn't say Havineinu. The rest of the year you could say it, but on Shabbos you should say the full version, Motzei Shabbos or Motzei Yontif, because you have to say Havdalah in Chonein Hadas, so you need to say the entire bracha. So the Gemara asks, so just say that bracha. Say Havineinu, and just the bracha of Chonein Hadas, say out the whole thing, and then you could add Havdalah. The Gemara even points out, Rabbi Akiva says, you're always supposed to say Chonein Hadas. You should not include it in Havineinu, you should spell it out. Rabbi Lezer says it should be in Moedim. So the Gemara says, hold on, I don't understand. A whole year we don't paskin like Rabbi Akiva, and we don't single out at the Chonein. So Motzei Shabbos we're not going to either. So the Gemara says, really? Why don't we want to paskin like Rabbi Akiva? The Gemara says, listen, there are 18 brachas, and we don't add extra ones. So if we have 7, meaning Havineinu plus the 3 before and the 3 after, so we're not going to add an 8th. The structure that we have is the structure that we use. So now the Gemara has another suggestion. You know what? On Motzei Shabbos, you could just include the phrase of Havdalah into Havineinu's reference to Chonein Hadas. Say the following thing: Havineinu Hashem Elokeinu, Hamavda Mekodesh L'Chol. The Gemara concedes the point. The Gemara says Kasha. Now the Gemara discusses another bracha which should be accepted from Havineinu. The Gemara says that Rav Bibi, son of Abaye, said that a person can say Havineinu except for during the rainy season. Then he has to say V'sein Talamoter Levracha, and therefore he has to say the bracha of Barech Aleinu separately, and therefore he shouldn't say Havineinu at all. So the Gemara says, why? What's the problem? Same thing, let him include asking for rain in the bracha of Havineinu when it gets up to the part that replaces Barech Aleinu. He should say V'dishaneinu b'nois artzecha V'sein Talamoter. The Gemara says no, because if you can start sticking things in the middle, you're going to get confused, and end up mixing up the entire bracha. It's better to leave it the way it is, and just don't say Havineinu, say the full Shemona Esrei. The Gemara says, okay, so if that's true, so now I have a good answer for why you couldn't stick Havdalah into Chonein Hadas. You'll get confused. The Gemara says, no, not necessarily. You could stick something into the first line. Havineinu is the beginning, Chonein Hadas is the first thing. To stick something in the middle is confusing, and the beginning is not so confusing. The Gemara says, well, I have another suggestion. Why don't we really say Havineinu, and we could stick in the reference to V'sein Talamoter asking for rain all the way at the end by Shema Koleinu, that you won't get confused that way. And we know that you're allowed to refer to asking for rain in Shema Koleinu because the halacha is that if somebody forgets to say V'sein Talamoter in Barech Aleinu, he could put it in Shema Koleinu. So the Gemara says, no, that's only if somebody forgets he can put it in Shema Koleinu. But the proper place that it's supposed to be is in Barech Aleinu. We're not going to suggest that a person should plan to skip Barech Aleinu and put in V'sein Talamoter in Shema Koleinu. That's not where it belongs. The Gemara now analyzes at length the halacha that one can say V'sein talomatar in Shema Kalenu if he forgot to say it in the right spot. The Gemara will bring two brises, and there will be a contradiction between the two regarding this halacha. So the brises contain three things you may have forgotten and what to do if you forget. First of all, the brisa says, what if you forgot to say Masha V'roch Moed HaGeshem? So the Gemara says you have to go over, you have to go back. You cannot say it in Shema Kalenu. Why? Because you're not asking for anything when you say Masha V'roch Moed HaGeshem. You're praising it as part of the bracha of Gevuros. You're praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that you can't put into Shema Kalenu. What if you forgot to say Havdalah in Chen and Hadas? So the Gemara says you don't have to go back because you could say that on a cup of wine. You'll say Havdalah later. The Gemara says, what if you forgot to say, the Brisa says, what if you forgot to say V'sein Talomatar? So here there's a contradiction. One Brisa says you got to go back, and one Brisa says no, just continue. Say in Shema Kalenu. So the Gemara wants to know why do the two Brisas give different rulings? So the Gemara tries two answers to this. First, the Gemara says one is referring to where you are being mispalel biyachid alone, and one is when you are b'tzibur. When you're b'tzibur, you don't have to go back because you'll hear it from the chazan. The Gemara says, but that doesn't fit. The brisa that says you don't have to go back says you can say it in Shema Kalenu. It doesn't say you'll hear it from the chazan. So the Gemara says, okay, so now the answer is that the brisa that says that you have to go back is talking about where you already missed Shema Kalenu. You didn't remember until after Shema Kalenu was already said. The Gemara now moves on to discuss what happens if somebody forgot to mention Yalav Yavai, forgot to mention Rosh Chodesh on a day when he should. So the Gemara says, if you didn't mention Rosh Chodesh in Avodah refers to Ritzei, so then you should go back to the beginning of Ritzei. If you remembered while he was in Moedim, again you should go back to Ritzei. If you remembered in Sim Shalom, go back to Ritzei. If he finished Shemona Esrei, you have to go back to the beginning. So the Gemara says, what is finishing Shemona Esrei defined as? Okar Raglov, he moved his feet. Then the Gemara redefines moving your feet. The Gemara says that means that you don't have anything left to say. Even if you're just saying tachnunim, you're just saying special requests afterwards, like what we say, like kain itzar, or some other things that one may add his own personal requests. But if somebody still has things to say, it's not called that he finished Shemona Esrei, and he doesn't have to go back to the beginning. He could go back to Ritzei. This is how we define the time when one must go back to the beginning of Shemona Esrei, is anytime he finished saying everything he needs to say, whether he moved his feet or not. Gemara now refers back to the Mishnah where we had seen the statement of Rabbi Eliezer, somebody who makes his tefillah kiva, which is translated various ways, as the Gemara will explain, says tefillah doesn't count as tachnunim, doesn't count as requests. So the Gemara wants to know, what does kva mean? What does it mean that he makes his tefillah kva, which means permanent or a rule or something like that? So the Gemara gives four explanations. Rabbi Yaakov Aridi says kva means that he makes his tefillah like a weight on him. It's like a rule. He feels like it's a rule that he has to stick to. The Rabbanan say kva means that he doesn't say it in a language of pleading. He says it like, this is a statement that I have to say. It's just a rule. Rabbi Yosef and Rabbah both say it means that he doesn't add things to the tefillah. He approaches it like this is the rule, but he doesn't add anything. You're really supposed to add things to your Shemona Esrei, the Gemara says. The Gemara quotes, Rabbi Zera said, I used to add things to my tefillah, I can add things to my tefillah, but I'm afraid I'll get confused and I won't know where to go back to. Abaye bar Rav and Rav Chanina bar Rav, they said a person has to, the meaning of kava is that he doesn't say Shemona Esrei with the rays of the sun. The rays of the sun means that he should say Shachris with the rising sun. He should say Mincha with the setting sun. The Gemara brings a pasuk to support this. Chia bar Abba says in the name of Rav Yochanan, it's a mitzvah to do tefillah with the rays of the sun. Like it says, Yiraucha im shemesh, I should fear you with the sun. That's the rising sun. That's referring to Shachris. And that's the setting sun just before the moon. That's when you should be saying Mincha. Oh, not everybody agrees to this. In Marava, in Eretz Yisrael, they used to scold somebody who would say Mincha with the setting sun because it's too easy to miss the time, and then you would not be saying it improperly. The Gemara now again refers back to the Mishnah where we had a statement that if somebody's in a place of sakana, a dangerous situation, he should say a very shortened Shemona Esrei, which includes the phrase, Hashem, save your people Yisrael, Bechol Parshas Ha'avor, or Ha'ibor. And the Gemara is not sure what these words mean, and not how to pronounce them. So the Gemara will bring a number of opinions as to what these words mean. So first the Gemara says, Parshas Ha'ibor means Parshas as in the separation. Ha'avor, two types of meanings of the word Avor. The Gemara has two meanings in one here. Rav Chizda, in the name of Mar Okva, says it means as follows: Afilu b'shah she'ata misma'aleim evra, even in the time where you are angry at Klal Yisrael, evra, like the word ibor. Ki isha ubra, you call tzarcheim lefanecha. May their needs be before you like a pregnant woman. So the word parashas means two meanings, and the word avor means evra, anger, and ubra, pregnant. Another opinion, Rav Chizda said in the name of Mar Okva, even in the time when they are over mal divrei Torah, so prishas means that they are leaving, they are separating from, and overim, they are violating divrei Torah, still should be called tzarcheim lefanecha, all that needs to be before you. Now the Gemara brings four different versions as to what the shortened tefillah should look like. The Gemara brings a brisa, somebody who is walking in a place of wild animals or bandits should say shortened tefillah. What is it? So Rabbi Eliezer says you should say as follows: Asay ritzayncha b'shamayim yimal. Do your will in Shemayim Hashem, but do help us out here down on earth. And do what you find to be good. Baruch atah Hashem shemei tefillah. Yeshua says, Shema Shavas Amcha Yisrael v'asem here b'kashosam. Listen to the outcry of your people Yisrael and quickly do their desire. Baruch atah Hashem shemei tefillah. Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Tzaddik says, tefillah is as follows: Shema tza'akas Amcha Yisrael. Hear the cry, the scream of your people Yisrael, and quickly do their will. Same as before, except it's tza'akas instead of shavas. Baruch atah Hashem shemei tefillah. Achirim refers to a certain Tana. Omrim, they say the following thing. He says the following thing: Tzarchei Amcha Yisrael merubin. The needs of your people Yisrael are many. V'daitam ketzara, and their knowledge and their wisdom is short. May it be your will that you give each one his required sustenance, and each body should have its lack fulfilled. Baruch atah Hashem shemei tefillah. Says Rav Huna, the halacha is like a chayrim, the final approach. The Gemara now discusses tefillas haderech, the prayer one says when he is setting out on the way. The Gemara says that Eliyahu said to Rav Yehuda, the brother of Rav Salah Chasida, said as follows: do not get angry, and you won't come to Averis. Do not drink wine, and you will come. You do not get drunk on wine, and you will not come to Averis. And when you're going on the road, ask permission from your Creator before you go. The Gemara says, what does this mean? Rabbi Yaakov says, in the name of Rav Chizda, this is a reference to Tefillas Haderech, the traveler's prayer, and he also says that this is the text. The person should say, Yehi ratzei milfanecha Hashem Elokai, may it be your will before you, Hashem, my God. You should take me along in peace. V'satzideinu l'shalim, v'sismecheinu l'shalim, v'satzileinu mikaf kol oyev v'oyev b'derech, v'sishlach bracha b'maaseh yodai, v'sitneinu l'cheinu chesed l'rachamim b'einecha, u'v'einei kol royai, baruch atah Hashem shemei tefillah.